Well, it was a long journey for me personally because I can't remember. I mean, I knew about Baba from the get-go because my father, who came down and built the center, helped build it with Darwin and everyone. And he was among the first people that came, and they carved that out of the wilderness. They got a lot of the buildings from the air base after it closed down right after World War II, and a lot of them were built, but Dad was instrumental in that. So I knew about Baba from the moment I was born. I mean, my dad didn't talk about him very much, but yeah, he was definitely part of our lives, no doubt about that. Of course, being in the South in the Bible Belt, we got an awful lot of flack about that. I would say the quality of my dad's character helped alleviate that a lot. And the fact that Joe Chestnut, one of the families in this area, a large family, the Chestnut family, he was one of the older members, and brother and sister brothers, and to many of them, kind of because of what he thought of my dad, we kind of got like, they're okay even though they do that kind of thing, you know, they're not like us, they're not Baptists and so forth, but Frank is a good person, and Irene is a good person, my mother. So we had that going for us, but the children were another thing. I would get teased incessantly on the school bus, and even sometimes at school for that. So I learned early on you just must keep yourself quiet, kind of low key. There was no running around saying Jai Baba, every time you saw someone who was a Baba lover or whatever, and it was very quiet. My father didn't do that either. There was no outward appearance that we were Baba followers or connected to the center in any way. So I guess with those feelings, you know, when you grow up young and you're young, you want to fit in and have friends, and so you kind of downplay anything, and I guess it kind of pushed me over in a place where I didn't want to really explore or think about what that was, because to me it was something that could affect me socially. So I never talked about it, never thought anything about it. And way in the back of my mind I thought, it is pretty strange considering, you know, how the Christian Christian religion is. So I really didn't allow myself to have too many thoughts about that other than that. And never really seeing that Baba was all around me and orchestrating everything all along. So I grew up, I didn't finish high school. I wanted to get away from Myrtle Beach. I met this lady and she seemed interested in me and a boyfriend, girlfriend, so I moved up to Durham, North Carolina, and stayed up there about 2 years. Had some different experiences, learned what it was like to get a job, learned what it was like to be responsible, because I was 17 and she had children that were 10 and 12. So I became sort of a father to them. And once again, never thought about Baba, just something that I was exposed to. And by the way, all the people at the center, Miss Kitty and Elizabeth and everyone, were just so wonderful to us. And many of the old time followers would come and go as they came to visit the center, and Darwin would come, and just so many different people. They'd come and have dinner and just have a good time. So I was exposed to that too. And I would go help my dad on the center, if you could call wandering around all day getting anything help, you know, because I was always wanting to sit in Baba's chair, and he saw me doing that once and he was like, oh, no. I was pulling a rope off of it in the lagoon cabin to climb in there, or in the one in the barn. So, but it was was special later on, you know, to think about that and really feel like it was really just a gift to have all that around you. And later on, I got married and married Bevan. At the time, she was Romanchuk was her last name because that was her married name, and she and Alan were married. And here was Baba pictures all in the house, you know. And in other words, Baba just says, "Nope, you're going this way." You might think you're going to escape, but you're not. So I was around that, and my friends and I were like, he looks like Jerry Colonna, you know, and things like that. But deep inside, I knew that I was attracted to that, and I had denied myself my true feelings, being sensitive, and I wanted to fit in so badly. I'll alter my personality just to fit in, have friends. And I can remember on the school bus, some of the children would stand over me, "You're going to hell," because of that. You're one of those Baba lovers or followers, and I'll be like, it was really kind of upsetting to someone at that age, and you want to fit in with your peers. So I married Bevan, and we were together. Tommy and Charlie were born, the twin boys, and eventually we broke up, and I ended up with another Baba woman as a girlfriend. It was the same way. Baba pictures all in the house. And of course, little by little, I was kind of getting it. So I can remember right after I left Bevan, I was staying with Beth. Her name was McKee at the time. She had a framed Baba picture in the bedroom. It was a beautiful wooden frame Baba picture, and one of the first things I did for her, I put a light on it where you could turn it on, a nice soft light. And one day I went in there and for something, and I came back out. She was in the kitchen cooking and had music playing, and I stopped and looked at that picture, and I just fell apart. I mean, tears streaming down my face, and I could feel like just finally allow myself to feel all that emotion and all that love and all that. You can just see Baba smiling, and I was just feeling all of that, realizing that he had orchestrated the whole thing, and he was definitely in control, and it was time to wake me up into that. So I rushed out and I said, "Beth, you will not believe this." I walked by Baba's picture, glanced at it, and I just fell apart into tears. And she laughed, "Oh, aren't you the luckiest thing?" And it's on his birthday too, which it was. I never even thought about that. So that was a move closer. And we lived together a year or so, and I had a good time, did a lot of different things. But she left, and then one of the things we did, we bought this house, so I ended up with this house after she went back to Colorado. And I was heartbroken and lonesome as could be. And then one day I was over at Bevan's, and this woman, Pam Lane, in fact, she's staying right here in my little apartment right now. Bevan said, "You and Pam would have a good time together. Why don't you just spend some time together?" You know, so we became friends, and I would go over there after work, and slowly she was drawing me into Baba. She's an ardent Baba lover. That's all she really thinks about now. And she would just kindly and gently was leading me there. We'd sit with the candle on and talk about feelings and talk about God and all that, and the next thing you know, I was hooked. Oh gosh. And I thought, why did it ever take me so long? Why? I was just fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and I should have known it it was a fight. I was going to lose. But everyone comes in a different way. And since then, it's become important to me. I talk to Baba out loud, sometimes inwardly. Something's frustrating me. Take his name, and I realize that he's there for us. He's really there for us 100%, each and every one of us. And even when we think that he's making us suffer and so forth, that's what we need. Because you don't have anything worthwhile without suffering. He even sent me this little dog. Yeah, my little friend. She's my little Baba gift of love. She's with me all the time. All the time, you are, aren't you, sugar? Yes, you are. Where's Baba? She'll sit on my bed, and I caught her several times staring at the Baba picture on that wall. Her head staring like that. Unbelievable. So that's really in a nutshell how...
When you were little, you did meet Baba, right?
I did in 1958. There's a photograph here somewhere of it. I think it's on my bedroom wall. Yeah, he kissed me on the cheek. And many people have looked at that and said, what I wouldn't give for that kiss. And in the old days, I would think, nah. Now, I look at that, anytime I need reassurance, I just, he's got you, George. He's got you. He will take care of you. None of us get through without some suffering. But it builds you. You can't build a good foundation without everything underneath it. You have to suffer, you have to love, you have to lose, you have to give up things, you have to shed all of the noise in your head that really isn't important. And most importantly, open your heart. You have to open your heart, because that's where he lives. The master of heart lives in your heart. And I can't say enough about Pam. She patiently stood by me, and still does to this day. I'd say, my best friend. She's always there, and I don't like what she says all the time, but she's pushing me in the right direction. And what I'm learning these days from her is just, don't worry, be happy. It's all about it. It's something that seems on a human side, it's just an awful thing. It's not. He's taking that from you. So you don't have to worry and think about that so much anymore. Just think about him. Think about him, and everything will be okay. Because he's truly with us. Yes, he is. He's truly with us. You can have such a powerful influence like that on someone's life. And it's so different than what we think are powerful influences in the everyday world, because it works through love and through your heart. And it's almost unnoticeable, except it's calming. You feel that love. And I remember when I was on the job, and I'd have a Baba moment, and I'd be over there wiping my eyes and thanking him, and people, those big burly mechanical, are you all right, man? I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. This is good. And they like walk away. And really, in a nutshell, that's it. It was
Great.
so many instances that I was saved by him. The way Pam said, "Gosh, you're just the luckiest thing." He says, "Baba treats you like with the kid gloves." He says he pulls you back and puts you right back where you need to be and mitigates your suffering every time. You are just the luckiest person in the world. I've never, I suffered this and I suffered with that. And every time you get yourself in a fix, he fixes it for you. And not only that, he puts you on your feet again. The world is so full of things that don't mean a lot, don't mean anything really, but we just fall into it with our humanity. I can remember my dad thinking when he grew up, he was a musician by trade. He spent time in the Army. He also got married, and they didn't have any children. His first wife, Kay, came down here, and she realized it wasn't her cup of tea, so they amicably split up. So he's always taking from you, but sending you in the right direction. And I can remember Dad. Now that I kind of know, I realize the struggles he was going through. Just to calm his mind, and because something happened when my younger brother at school once. He was caught with some kind of something on that he shouldn't have had. It wasn't drugs or something like that. So they had a parent-teacher conference, and John told me, he said, "George, I never thought the Dad could be so cool. This woman was having a fit because of what I did." And she said, "Don't you see, Mr. Eaton, this is terrible. How could your son do something like that? How could that happen here on the campus of Myrtle Beach High School?" And John said, Dad sat there and just didn't even flinch. He says, "Well, if a fellow wants to do something like that, I don't see the harm in it one bit. I don't see any harm in it." And John says, "That woman stared at your dad like he was from another planet." And I thought, yeah, he probably was. But so he fought for that inner peace. My mother could drag it out of him. She could upset him, and he'd be having a hissy fit about something. I could see her just smirking or something. I got him. And it's like Elizabeth, as you wrote, she had an almost supernatural power of knowing where he was. He would sneak into the woods to take a little nap, and occasionally I'd get stuck, but they'd be snoring away. He and George Anderson are one of the early help. And I would be so bored, but I wasn't ever there when she caught him. But I know that did happen. He said, "How does that woman know where I am? She just walks in on me or walks up on me anytime." It was beautiful though during the early days. There was hardly any until 1968 or so. There were really no nearby community. I think Marshall came first. I remember when Marshall came. And Niecy Jensen, this actress from New York City, she bought Jane Haynes' old house, Happy House, down there behind the Baptist Church on North 17. But you go to the center any given day, you see anyone. You were there, we were there, Frank, Dad, and I were there by ourselves. But it was really a beautiful upbringing, an oasis in the middle of all this beachy turmoil and loud cars and loud music. But that's what I remember the most, just feeling so different inside from most everyone I knew, and feeling powerless to relate to how I really felt, because at that age you just want to fit in. It was hard. It's something that stuck with me for a long, long time. Say I was trying to remember how old I was when Boss got me in front of his photo. I was 47. That's how long I was battling that inside of myself.
44 years, right? You was 3. You were 3 when you met.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what would have happened to me if I didn't get that kiss. He knew I needed it, I suppose.
I keep hearing little things keep coming up about things Elizabeth did that she never told anybody. You know, really good things for communities and.
Oh yes, she was very charitable. I think most of the real aristocrats born in her era, they weren't verbal about it. They always put their money in a good place, like the library, Chabon Library, and then there was Helping Hand and different things in the Happy Club. She would bring the children from the not so nice parts of town up and have cake and ice cream for them and kind of, you know, let them see that there was more than just abject poverty and turmoil and struggling. And the same with us. Here we were in this tiny little frame house. It used to be a gas station, and we were crammed in there. Frank was a teenager. Frank Jr. was a teenager, and I was approaching that. I was 12 or 13 or something like that. And Mom just had it. If Dad didn't have a place to stay at the center, we would have really had a hard time, because he would go in at 11 and come back in the morning. So we had an extra spot to sleep. But Mom just said, I've had it with this. I'm going to go talk to Elizabeth. So actually what she did, she invited Elizabeth over for lunch. And Elizabeth came, and then they had a nice pleasant chat. And then Mom said, Elizabeth, I want to show you how we're living here. So she gave Elizabeth a tour around the house, showing the closets absolutely full of stuff under the beds. And I got Frank and George sleeping in this bed, and John over here, and Frank and I in this bed. And we got a little bathroom with nothing but a shower on the back porch. It makes it kind of rough in the winter. And Elizabeth said, well, I had no idea. I'll take care of this. I'll put you a nice bedroom on the back. So she did. She paid Mr. Platt, the center's carpenter, paid for all the materials and everything. Put a really nice room on the back and added on a tub from Yopon Dunes. That's where she got the bathtub. This humongous porcelain tub, probably weighs 1,000 pounds. No matter how it was kept all these years from falling through the floor over there. But that's where it came from. So we had a bath where we could bathe and not freeze to death, but it was great. Yeah, no, look what I've done for you or anything like that. She just took care of it. And so did Eileen Coates. Eileen was from Chadbourne. In fact, just recently, I remembered something my mother said. Eileen, she lived in that really cool little modernist house over around down the street from Dilruba that overlooks the lake, where there's just looks like a brick wall, and the other side's this little just for her. She had a big house, and she didn't want a big house. She wanted something with a beautiful view and just enough that she could have a place to sleep and so forth. She didn't want a big house. So I was looking, and I remember what I'm saying. She was from the wealthiest people in Chadbourne, North Carolina. So I looked it up, and I found it. They had lived in the only mansion in town. It was a Lewis house, and it had columns, and it was huge. It took up like a quarter of a city block. So I was fascinated by that, and I saw that, believe it or not, somehow, don't know how yet, it's turned into a Christian religious home. They ended up with that home somehow. It was probably donated to them. I don't really know yet. And it needed a lot of work, so all these volunteers got together and fixed the house and fixed it all up. So they take in unwed mothers, they take in anybody. So here's this mansion. So there must be a connection. There's a mama connection there. Right in the middle of the Bible Belt country in rural North Carolina. There's a mansion where people can go if they need help and stay there. I can remember Eileen saying, oh, I was in the house once and I saw there was this fireplace that had like these old brick and some of them had paint on them and stuff, and I'm like, why are these painted and they look chipped up? And she said, oh, those are old bricks out of one of my father's warehouses back home that they tore down. So come to find out, he owned most of the big warehouses in town and part of the railroad too. So she was from a very wealthy family. Once again, she would step in. Mrs. Coates would step in and buy us clothes. I never heard about it. Make sure that we were okay and we had enough. So it was just this huge web. Huge web. And Niecy Jensen, same thing. She and Mom became best friends. They were both a lot alike. They loved to talk. They were gregarious and outgoing. And Niecy wanted someone to pal around with. So she and Mom latched together. And Niecy took Mom out. Oh, you want that? Yeah, here. Took me down one time with her husband. That was killed in World War II. So she had benefits from that. Military benefits, so she could shop on the air base down there and all that. And she took me down there one night. I was looking at this guitar, an electric guitar, and she saw me just like, we were like, and she said, you like that? Oh yes. She said, here, take it, I'll buy it for you. And yeah, and when Niecy left and sold Happy House, I never knew it, but because during that time I ran off to North Carolina with my first love interest, but Niecy had left Mom quite a bit of money when she left, just gifted it to her. Mom never said anything about it, but when I came back home, come to find out, Mom was a little flush. If you wanted something, she could get it for you, and so that was. And she worked and added to that, because after as kids got grown, she went to work as a waitress, which was what she used to do with how she met my dad. But yeah, so we were taken care of, and things got easier and easier for us, just out of the love and goodness of other people's hearts. It was unbelievable. I can't believe it, because people just stepped up. They just stepped up. It was not easy. I could shop. Dad did the shopping because Mom was like, I want that. Throw it in the cart. there was a budget, so you couldn't do that. Once, one of the biggest fusses they ever had was one time Dad had to go somewhere and Mom took us shopping and she spent like a whole month's allotment on groceries. We had cookies, we had things, ice cream, things we never had. She just tossed it in the cart. Yeah, it was. So see, he took care of us. He really did. He made sure we had a little fun. We made sure we didn't starve. He made sure we were warm. He made sure we were clean. He made sure we had a car. Niecy gave Mom her car when she left because she didn't need it anymore. She was going in the city. So we had a good car to travel in. Not the old Muppets Studebaker we had that was on its last legs.
How'd your mom feel about Baba? You know?
Well, you never knew how Mom felt. She kind of guarded her feelings a lot. I suppose growing up on that farm, over in the western part of the county, there were 10 kids, and they were just dirt farmers. They didn't have much, but they were proud. They were good people. Strangely enough, they came from a religious background. There were several reverends in her family, and her father passed away when Mom was 6, I think. So that left her mother in charge of the farm, and some of the older boys ran it. But they were just salt of the earth, ordinary, honest, hard-working people. And I think that's why Baba chose her. He knew it was going to be rough. Mom says, I married the first man that asked me, and boy, did I jump from the frying pan into the fire. I wanted to get off of that farm so bad, and my older brother ran the farm, and Mom let him have free reign and everything. He was so mean to us. It was like just couldn't wait. And one of the guys at the church asked me to marry him. I said, I'll do it. Off she went, and that was just before World War II. She ended up down in Brunswick, Georgia, after they broke up. She was a welder on Liberty ship. She actually got down in the bottom and welded the plates for the bottom of the ships. So Mom was, she could handle most anything. Those welding cables were like this big around, and you had to carry them up and down ladders with this big, looked like a I didn't know. I thought they were regular with a little stick thing in them. No, these things were long, like a car wash wand they had to weld with. She did that and took care of my sister Jean. That was her first child from her first marriage. And I never even knew that Jean had a different father than me until, gosh, I was a grown man. Because Mom never talked about him. It turned out he was kind of a rough individual, but and she just washed herself of him, and he never came back around to see him. Yeah, he did one time right after Dad and Mom got together. I don't think they were married yet, but Dad was down there sitting with her having lunch at the restaurant she waitressed at, and he came in wanting to know where his daughter was, and I don't know. Dad was not you never saw anger or anything from him very much. You see him upset, but he was not a mean person. But he got in that guy's face, told him he didn't leave, there was going to be trouble. Dad could do that. It was an amazing thing, because he was so tender, but he could be a man and stand up if necessary. He would do that. That was an amazing thing. When go in the center and you have to go down there and run off some hunters or something, he would just walk right in there to them. Hey buddy, you're doing right, come on, let's go. You're in a state sanctuary. And and he'd haul them out of there and take them to the magistrates. Amazing people they were. All Bible lovers are amazing. They really are. They cover the full spectrum, but every one of them is special but one. They were called by him. And the other is, if you really step back and look at it, they all fit in place just like bricks in a wall. You're working magic with that dog.
I just don't ever want to leave.
She is just the sweetest thing, and soft as velvet.
Yeah.
I didn't want that dog.
Yeah.
I didn't allow myself to, because I remember when I was little and my friend had a dog, Jeff, over next door, and Mom can't, no. Get that dog out of here. That dog won't be in my house. Finally, I kind of held that line because guess Mom's right. They're just animals. Once again, denying my heart healing. So, a good friend of mine, Jim Bullard, I've known him since 1974. He and his second wife were breaking up, and they had rescued dogs, and they had 6 dogs, and they called me up. I had no idea they were breaking up. Said, you know, we were calling it quits, and we got these dogs. Said, won't you take Sugar? I'm like, no, I don't want that dog. Don't bring a dog up here. It's my mom speaking. I don't want a dog in my house. They get hair everywhere, and they smell, and blah, blah, blah. He said, come on, George, take the little dog. Said, no, I don't want the dog. So it was late in the evening. I went to sleep. Went to bed, went to sleep. Next thing I know, doorbell went up, and it was Karen, his soon-to-be ex-wife. Here's Sugar. Just try her out. And I'm like, all right, I'll try her out. So, I closed the door. Here's some water. Here's a little food. I took what I had to feed her in. They brought that too, and I went to bed, lay down in bed, and she wasn't long. She was over there by the door sniffing. I could hear, she was broken hearted. So I got up, come here, get in the bed with me. Put her in the bed. She kept running back to the door. So finally, this isn't working. So I got up and sat with her and held her like you are. She relaxed. Okay, Sugar, let's go to bed. So I went to bed. She stayed there. Wouldn't take anything for that little dog. Such a comfort to me. And I tell her all the time, Baba sent you to me, Sugar. Took a little 10-pound dog, little 10-pound dog, break down those walls. You never know how he's going to do it, how he's going to finally tear down those walls and get to your heart. Yeah, Sugar. You did. You don't have to be a German Shepherd. You don't have to be a gorilla. You don't have to be anything but love. That's what you are. I'm so grateful for all the suffering I've gone through. If this is the result, and the end result, I'm happy. I'm happy, Doug. Yes, I know. I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay. You're such a sweet girl. Thank you, Baba. Thank you. Thank you, Sugar. Well, you just have to keep your heart open and turn off that noise in your head that's holding you back. You just fall, jump into the ocean. Jump into the ocean of love. That's the only thing that matters. Everything else is as easy as a passing show. This is what we all want, someone to love us, and other people want the same, so give it back. It's the interplay. between hearts, as he says. That's where it's at. Seems so simple, but so hard to achieve. All around us, but we're blind to it. Such a simple thing. Someone told me that little dog would die for you, and it's true.
What a sweetheart, wow.
And that's how we must love God, just like the dog loves us. You have to, so to speak, you have to let yourself die. We don't know how it's going to happen, what time. I'm sure one thing you'll find in these stories, every one of them is different. But they all, whenever Baba decided he wanted that person, they knew. Don't know when or don't know how, but it all happens in his time.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
My mother never declared Baba as the avatar or a god or anything like that. But, and I'm just sure she may have been too proud to admit it. When she, in her final days, and she looked back, I know she saw it was just too many connections. But she would never blurt that out. That would be letting her arm down, but she really was like someone Baba follower. She was very, very kind to people in need. She was a true friend. She was with my dad through thick and thin. But I don't think she ever entirely dropped guards though over her emotions and her heart and her love feelings. She was really very changed the last 10 years of her life. But she was very proud. She would never admit it, but she became much more tender. So once again, we're all right where we're supposed to be, and just the fact that we know this and we've experienced this, where it's just beyond describably special. That's where we're all right where we're supposed to be. And Baba, what are you doing? But I know it's you have to destroy things sometimes to build them back. America is a caricature of the evil ways of capitalism, and things, just the love for money and the love for belongings and love for even our churches are like these huge things, you know. Very little about the humility of being a person. We should all be humble to God. I mean, like, unbelievable. I get the fact that they want to build all these magnificent palaces as his name, but it's all for naught. If you don't let him in your heart, you don't use your heart. You know, I think that putting $5 or $10 in a collection plate every Sunday is good enough, and then you're only hurting yourself. As a gift, the gift he has to give you is so far beyond any of that.